Okay, this video is going to go, I don't know, lots of different directions, I suppose. Lots of questions were asked in the previous videos about the chicks and the camper, and then I want to talk about the weather, which is what I'm going to start with. So tonight, they're predicting some serious storms. Now, I can't figure it out. I don't have TV, so I have to watch the YouTube weather channels. And there's one famous guy, and he said that we're supposed to get softball size hailstones. Softball size. Oh man, why not just say bowling ball size? I mean, my goodness, that's going to be terrible. I mean, just completely destructive. So Carolyn and I have been trying to make a plan to cover up the solar panels, but I suspect that if that happens, we will lose a good majority of our setup. Not sure if the camper can handle it. I'm sure everybody's out there, this is what you need to do. Well, I'm not going to. I mean, I've never even suspected that we could get softball size hailstones. That tiny house should survive it pretty good. I would imagine the roof is going to look like a hailstorm hit it, but it's a metal roof. I'm just not sure about this. I don't know if that metal roof on the camper will last. We got the shed, and again, that's a metal roof. I'm for some reason I kind of feel like that's going to hold up. The shed is, you know, it's metal, but that's where all the components for the solar panel stuff is. That's the batteries and the charge controller, inverter, all that. So cross my fingers that we'll survive it. Of course, the truck won't survive it, so we'll pull that up underneath a tree and hope for the best. But that'll be an insurance claim, I'm sure. I don't know. I'm kind of nervous about this softball size. So then I watched another YouTuber, weather guy. I watched two of them, and he said we have a 30% chance of getting hail. And he drew out the map and showed it, and we're right in this epicenter of it, you know, just like somebody said about the locusts the other day. But then when he started showing the predictive map, like the radar, it didn't look like it was going to hit us. So we've not gotten any watches or warnings or anything. You think if it was something that serious, we'd already be under a watch, but I mean, it's supposed to be starting in like 4 or 5 hours. So we'll do the best, but boy, the hail kind of makes me nervous. Everybody's telling me about tornadoes. Oh, you need to watch out for the tornadoes. Well, tornado comes through, we're wiped out. There's not much we can do, but hail, I don't know, just that kind of worries me. So the camper was a nice purchase. It is kind of astonishing to me that there are people who complain about the camper. We don't live in it. There is absolutely no functionality to it for us. It's a nicety. It's an additional bonus for us. It's old, it's junky, and it really doesn't matter. The things that we want to work in it do work. The stove works. We don't have any water to it. All the plumbing's been frozen, broken, all that. But we ran a hose to it last year from the IBC tank. So our IBC tank that supplies water to our house supplied water to this. Now we've disconnected that. She didn't want it anymore. But I fill this up so she's got water to do dishes. I keep a bucket of water available for her. So don't really need that. And then it just stores all our food, all our canned food. And then we keep the freezer up the house, of course. Somebody's going to say bring the freezer down here, but freezers don't work in temperatures in the 30s or below, or I think maybe 40s. The thermostat stops working. So if you get it above freezing, but at the point where it shuts off, your meat will thaw. And I've discovered this when we had the refrigerator outside, when we had the truck camper here. And it just wasn't working. Our meat was thawing out, and I had to Google it to figure out why. But this is just an extra spot for us. Storage, cooking, canning food. If we have guests, the guests can sit in, lay in here on the couch, or now, we got the bed in there, but it doesn't have a mattress. We'd have to get an air mattress. Carolyn's son stayed here. He slept on the couch. So it has just opened up a lot. My grandma used to have a pantry, and it had these same exact items. You got the rings for your canning jars. You got the jars all stacked up. I do need to get started canning again. We got a lot of them empty. I don't care if you like it. It really isn't anything that needs to be liked or disliked. It needs work. Carolyn wants me to fix the floors in the bedroom because they kind of broken away. You know, they've gotten wet. We do have a leak in here that I got to try to figure out. Of course, we're going to get that tar or something put up on the roof, try to fix that leak. But it doesn't have to be great. We're not living in it. Although some people have said that they would live in it, which is fine. Of course, you have to fix it up. There's a lot of work that would need to be done to live in it. But the reason I don't want to live in it is heat. Carolyn said we would never put a wood stove in this. That makes sense. It just, I don't know. It just seems like it would catch on fire quite easy. It would take up a lot of space. We do have the air conditioner in here, but that was for Carolyn's son. And we rigged up the solar panel so it would run the air conditioner. And in the summertime, if we get too hot, it is an option for us. Of course, we always said that if we got too heat exhaustion or thing, we could sit in the truck and cool off. But we could sit in here also. So there's just a lot of things. I mean, we got all the food and storage, and the fridge works. We don't have it on, but she uses that for storage too. This her son left behind. We don't eat vegetables anymore, but that's all our chicken broth. There's mixed reviews on how we've got our chicks. You know, we brought our chicks in here, and we put them underneath the bed. I thought it was a pretty good idea. Carolyn thinks it. I think it was actually Carolyn's idea. I don't remember who came up with it, but I'm going to give her credit for it. So she wanted to put them in here, or we put them in here. I don't care. Doesn't matter. And it has worked out perfectly. It keeps us from having to have the chickens in the house. And remember, we got Skitty, and I got to be honest about this. Everybody wants us to have a pet, a dog, more specifically a dog. But we have a cat. And the cat keeps the mice around here just at bay. I mean, she does a great job with it. And she stays in the house. Well, when you have a cat, she likes to go after the chicks. Well, now we had them up there for a few days before, because it was pretty cold down here. And we were waiting to get a heat plate, which I'm going to show you in a minute. We were waiting to get that heat plate, so we kept them up in the house. And she was interested in them for a while, but then she just lost interest. Just ignored them. So I guess you can train a cat to just ignore it. She's a good cat. I kind of like her. So we brought them down here, and some people think this is absolutely disgusting, that you would bring such a disgusting animal into your house. This isn't our house. It's a thing. When we had the truck camper was our house for a while, and then it became a storage shed, and then we put chicks in it, and then we eventually tore it down. So it's just, I don't know. Now, this raises up, and of course there was a lot of questions that I didn't consider. Somebody asked, how do you keep them from dying from carbon dioxide? Because, you know, you close this up, there's not much room for air. Well, first of all, this expands out a little bit, so you get a little bit of air space here, but then we put these boards here so it doesn't lower all the way down. It only lowers, you know, you got 1.5 inches, almost 2 inches here, that it raises up. That keeps the chicks from flying out, but also makes it so there's enough airflow in here. And then somebody asked about the lights. Now, I've talked about the lights before. The lights are grow lights for vegetables, seedlings. These are LED, and it doesn't use a lot of electricity. But since we're carnivores now, we don't use them. So Carolyn's been using them at night when she crochets in the wintertime, but now it's staying up light longer. She thought I think I said we'll use these. And it does pretty good. This is at the lowest setting, and it gives them plenty of light. You could turn this up much higher. And the lights, I don't think you can see them very well in the camera, but it's blue and red lights is the colors. So it kind of gives out a purple type of color, I guess. But you can turn off the blue or turn on the red, or, you know, or turn off the red, whatever you want. And it comes on a timer. You can put it on a timer, which wouldn't be a bad idea, but we come in here at night and put the chicks away. And we put the chicks away in the pet carrier. And last night I took the top off the pet carrier and I raised this plate up. This is a heat plate, which I'm going to explain a little bit more in a minute. And so I raised that up, and at night they go in here. This is adjustable, so legs, and so depending on their size, you can lower it or raise it. But it got up to 108 degrees yesterday in here. So we have a little thermometer that we can monitor their temperature. So this is just the remote sends a signal up to the house. So we keep an eye on the temperature, and it got warm. So I came up, raised it, took the cover off, and it dropped down to 100 degrees. And then this morning when I woke up, it was 88 degrees, which is fairly reasonable. Right now, they should be right around 85 to 90 degrees based on their age group. But like I said, we're not very consistent with that, and they seem to be fine. We've raised chicks 3 or 4 times now, and we've never had a consistent temperature. We used to use water bottles. They huddle up together, and they stay warm, and they don't die on us. This heat plate, it was a little bit more expensive than I wanted to pay. It was $65 or something like that, whereas you could get some of them for $30. But I wasn't really worried about the price. I was worried about how much wattage it was going to use. And this is the only one I could find that told me how many watts it was going to use. And it uses 30 watts, so that's basically maybe 3 amps, 2.5 amps from my battery bank. You know, figure 12 volts times 3, that's what, 36 amps. So about, I don't know, 2.8 amps, which we are handling just fine. Now on a cloudy day like this, I'm having to run a generator. I don't know if you can hear it, but I'm running a generator I'm just trying to bump the battery up. We're using a lot more electricity than normal, so I don't want to overlook the batteries. Normally I wouldn't have started a generator today, but when you're raising chickens, you take some exceptions. Same thing happened with the incubator. The incubator was 60 watts. So I ran the generator quite a bit. Now I just add that into the cost of raising chickens. You run an hour, an extra a day, 25 cents a day to run, maybe 50 cents a day to run. So you add that to the cost of the chickens. Now a lot of people have had different suggestions on what to use. I don't know, this just seems to be working out really well. Carolyn found it and said we should get it. She found a heat plate, not this particular one. She found some that were much cheaper. But like I said, I was looking for wattage. If you don't have that concern, then you could find one pretty cheap. And they come in different sizes, depending on how many chicks you got. At night, we put them all in here, and we shut off the light, and they stay in pretty good. But last night, when it was 108 degrees, I went back up to the house to look at the thermometer after we were putting them away, and it was 108 degrees. So I came back down here to see and they all came out. It was too hot for them. This is operational. It says in the instructions from outside temperatures, you know, ambient temperatures, 50 degrees to I think 80 degrees is the fluctuation you can have. So if it gets 50 degrees outside, that's the minimum. Of course, you can lower this and raise it to help them out a little bit based on their size, and you can ramp it up because we got some chickens that are smaller than the other chicks, and over time, each week the temperature that the chickens need reduces by 5 degrees. But we're gonna get down to 37 degrees. We got down to 40 degrees the other day, and I came down here and they were just fine. They were happy. It was, I forget what it was, 69 degrees in here underneath the heat plate, I think is what it was. But they were happy. They came running out and ate. I mean, it was pretty chilly in here. So I don't think it's a big deal, as long as we don't get below freezing, because I don't want the water to freeze. I think they over caution you to keep your chicks warm with these 90, 95 degrees and all that. I just don't know how important it is. They have feathers, they huddle up, they keep warm. When we were using water bottles, the only time they ever got upset about it being cold was when I spilled the water. You know, the water would leak out of the bottles. But they're saying if you hear them chirping like this, they're cold. Well, they know where the heat plate is. If they're cold, they can come in here, but they're not. 2 of them are laying over there. Then they're not chirping. So I don't agree. I just don't agree that if they're chirping, they're cold and they need to be warmed up. They know where this is at. I'll put this one in here. Let's see if he comes back out. Yep, runs right back out. So I think that's fine. And the thing is we don't neglect them. It's not like we just sit them in there and leave them. If we see that they're suffering or they need heat, we would take action. And we already have our setup ready to go for the tiny house. We'll just bring our blue tub down here, put them all in the blue tub, take them up to the house, start putting water bottles in there, or a heat plate or whatever, start up the fire, and warm them back up. I don't think it's as critical as what everybody says it is. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about being banned from YouTube. So if I can inspire you to question everything so you can live your dreams. Thanks for watching.